started my career with a very humble background, and my career means I would say that I belong to a very humble family, and but fortunate enough that I was attached with one of the India's top business people, that is the BM Birla's family, because my father used to be there with them, and I had been fortunate enough to live in their accommodation provided to us. So based on that, I had an exposure thinking of, because I could see minutes of the meeting that point of time. The compliance part, whatever the company's running of a company in India at that point of time was entirely based on manual work. There was no computers, hardly there was any computers. Everything was manually done. Even the board meetings which my father used to organize at point of time, because being one of the assistants over there, so he used to go through the minutes of the meeting, and at a very early age I understood what are the minutes of the meeting, and I could fathom that these are the very important features of running a company. This I could understand from my very childhood. So I decided that I should take up something which is close to this kind of an business, kind of an scenario in life. But fortunate and unfortunate enough that I was very much attached with this aeronautics the thing. So I started doing my aero modeling. I took up aero modeling as a hobby. So I wanted to become an aeronautical engineer, but unfortunately I couldn't get into aeronautics. So I took up commerce, because that was my second passion, because I wanted to understand what business is all about, because I've been seeing a business house ever since my childhood, and I used to stay in close proximity to BM Birla's residence. So this is one of the reasons why I started my career in business. So I joined commerce at St. Xavier's College, Calcutta, and my schooling was done at Birla High School, which is now Birla High School. Earlier it was Hindi High School at Moira Street, Kolkata. And then I switched on to St. Xavier's College after my schooling, and I did my BCom from there, and then I joined CA, Chartered Accountancy, which was a difficult course that point of time. People used to tell me that it's very difficult, don't do it. So I said, no, I will do it. I can pass exams. That caliber I had, I can always pass exams. But doing CA was a tough job, so there were many challenges in my life. So I started studying a lot, and then finally my father told me that if you want to become a CA, you have to understand what business is all about. And if the business is not understandable to you, then you just stop doing CA, do something else. Because if you don't have passion for business, your doing CA doesn't make any difference to your life. So he told me many things, like three of the things which I still remember is that you should know your area of business. Second is you should know your sales, your revenue. And third is that you should know your inventories. So these are the three key factors which he injected on me, and saying that you should be aware of that. If you have an inventory, so it means you have a burden to, again, you cannot sell anything. You cannot sell. If you can't sell, that means your business is going to go top after some time. Very simple. So these are the basic learnings that I had from my father at my very early age. And then I started joining, I joined SR Bartley Boy and Company, which was a top big firms, 5 top big firms of CA firms, and I joined there, and I was an article over there, and I started doing my articleship, and I visited many of the companies. because this Bartley boy was an auditor for Birla Groups. Okay, most of the Birla Groups were their clients. So I used to visit the Birla Group companies as an auditor. So as a young guy, I used to go there and see many things like inventories and like manufacturing processes, and then the books. It was all written in hand at that point of time. Now there is no such, that time there was no thing as computerization. I encountered computerization when I completed my articleship and I passed my CA in 1981, and I joined Hindustan Motors Limited. That was the first thing when I encountered computerization, how computerized accounting is done. That was the first. It was a first generation computer. It was a 1401 machine, IBM machine 1401, and that machine was the first thing that I had seen in the past. It was just like a big room. The whole machine was a huge machine, and everything was done on a holographic codes. So it was a punch card system. So as I joined them there as a trainee, as a junior trainee, so they told me that you take up a course from RCC, Regional Computer Center, Kolkata. So I took a course from there. It was sponsored by the company as a COBOL, Common Business Oriented Language. So I learned COBOL that point of time, and I came back, and then after 8 weeks, I came back to office, and then they told me that you are transferred to systems department. The systems department is supposed to organize all kinds of systems, system-related matters in that point of time at Hindustan Motors. Hindustan Motors is one of the manufacturers is the manufacturer of Ambassador car in India, and that time Ambassador Mark II was in vogue and Mark IV was coming, and the first year I bought a Mark IV car out of my savings at 57,000 rupees. Okay, making a borrowing of about 45,000 rupees from a bank, and I was very fond of a car. I could drive that one time, so I started driving. So I used to take this, and incidentally, I would like to mention one more thing. I was posted in Hindustan Motors campus. I was not posted anywhere else, and being posted there, so coming from my accommodation to my office was about a kilometer or so. So I would drive my car and come to office and have a kick of my life that I am driving a car. So this is one thing. And second is that your second question is that this is my early life and my career. My first posting I had was that systems department, and then post that 6-7 months after having absorbed the whole system properly, I was transferred to balance sheet. That is the accounts department in balance sheet, where I was supposed to look after all kinds of financials, including the MISs. At that point of time was entirely a different picture. The MISs which you see today is not that. MIS at that point of time was just typewritten, and it was to be faxed to the board of directors, and particularly more so at the time of 4 o'clock. The 4 o'clock was a deadline, and we used to send the MISs. Come to my years with Hindustan Motors, where the hurdles were innumerous, because I was the only guy who's from non-Marwari community working in finance department. That was a big challenge for me, to ensure that my capabilities are not because of my not being a Marwari, but being any person would definitely be there. So that in those days it was understood that only Marwadis could understand finances better. But I proved them wrong that I can also understand finance better than any of them. So I started working over there. So the first thing that my first breakthrough in that company is that I made I was in receivable that point of time, okay? And I went to visit the dealers network, where I saw that the cars that has been considered as, what do you call it, to be repaired, or the replacement of the components. This was that point of time done by the dealers only, and dealers never charged because it was in the warranty period, so they never charged them. Dealers in back-to-back used to claim from the company and saying that this is spent on a car vehicle that you have sold. So we used to reimburse them of the amount of defective component that was replaced in the vehicle. So based on that, I had an idea that if we can trace back the supplier of this component, then possibly we can raise a debit note on them saying that you pay this money because this component failure is there. Very simple. So in the process, I recovered around 1.5 crores at that point of time, and I had to face a lot of controversial issues that people used to tell me that these suppliers are all known by the directors, so you don't indulge in this. But my seniors, my president, he called me and he told me that you have done a good job. It's a good thing that they should also be aware of their quality. Awareness should be there, and they should also pay for it. This is the first breakthrough I made. And the second breakthrough was that point of time when you sold cars as a taxi. So you used to, the buyer used to get refund from the government, because to the extent of excise duty refundable as subsidized, as a subsidized, because 20% excise duty, 5% was supposed to be subsidized, and that was to be given back to the taxi owners. So this caused a huge problem. So there was a blockage of 24 crore rupees in the excise department itself. That point of time, you understand that point of 24 crores is a very high value, and 24 crores, I built up a plan, having had the experience of a system. So I built up a plan to recover this money, and this was the first time that I recovered some amount of money, that is about 4-5 crores, and then people started appreciating. Is that if you have a company, if you run a company in any place, you should manage the environment in a manner that the environment does help you to enrich the organization, to help the organization to come up, not that it should choke the organization. Because people nowadays, not even nowadays, people in many cases, I would say, that people in many cases, they find that paying taxes or paying dues in time, or paying, like for example, TDS in time, repaying TDS to the exchequer in time, is not needed, because we can pay the penalty and do it. But it gives a good track record. It gives a good feeling about your organization to the Central Board of Direct Taxes, that this organization is good. So you have to put your name there only, that you are good people and you are doing a good work, and this work has to be understood that they are honest people. Your honesty has to be expressly given to the world at large, not to yourself. So compliance is an activity to emit your honesty. I believe in that only. No, actually, what I have seen is the gaps that has happened is after the post 90 to 94. 1994, there were huge gaps that was been filled up by the government. Earlier, in 1956 Act of the Companies Act, the company used to run in a manner, because earlier there was Maukar, then it became Maukar 74, then Maukar 88, then that came the Maukar thing evaluated, the social audit component. It was known at point of time as social audit. So social audit was a key factor to understand that where is the gap. So gap in social audit, we used to measure that gap by 28 points which was there covered. Now it is known as CARO. So this 27 points, whatever is there, based on that we used to measure. My concern was that that point of time, that when there is a interested people trading into an organization, when there is an interested persons trading into an organization, how does it happen? It does not happen that he should give a fair value to the organization. It is not is it not required? It is required. But at the same time, I also find that there are gaps, because there are challenges of the organization to accept, not to accept them, and there are challenges of getting procurements from other places. This is for interested directors. Director is interested in a particular transaction I'm talking about. There are always gaps. From then until now also. But traditionally speaking, that is not done now. It is not. It's not available now. But now, though, things are more transparent. Transparency has increased because of the ERP and the SAP system being imbibed by the organization from all aspects. So there is transparency also there, and what do you call that? Quotations which we invite, that is also open. So you also have a portal where you put in the quotation, so you can have the L1 factor figured out very easily. Earlier, though, all these things were not very done. It was done in a very hushed manner. So this was. I have that's a very important question. It's a very good question. That financial freedom nowadays, working professionals have a very difficult time. They might be working for more than 12 hours a day, but they don't make their ends meet because of the reason that nowadays the workload is multifarious. It is on different grounds. You have a one person, or maybe 2-3 persons are managing affairs which were managed earlier by intensive employee intensive department. So now the departmentalization has gone outdated. So all we have is only 1 or 2, 3, or maybe 7 persons managing the whole show. That means you have a sales, you have purchase, you have personnel, you have HR, you have other general management, your administration, everything you have with 7 persons. So 7 persons working with all kinds of problems, it becomes that you have to do multitasking. So this is a big problem for the current employed professionals. But I would always suggest that every professional should explore a second income option. That is by means of maybe from capital market, That's one easy, because of being a chartered accountant. Or if he's an engineer, then he can have somewhere else a business, or maybe a startup, join with a startup, or join with the incubation companies or accelerator companies, where he can give his advice to a particular product line, whatever it is. So this is the second thing I would always suggest. So they must find avenues that they should get that 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 kind of hit, that they should look for something which gives them a perpetual income in parallel to the salary income which is having. Because this is my view today. That means you have to work 24 hours a day and 7 days in a week and 31 days or 30 days in a month, or 365 days in a 366 days in a year. Once you are established, now 1 year, I said I came to 1 year span of 365 days. 1 year, once you are established, you will have a freedom that मेरा तो एक धंधा चल रहा है, मैं अभी नौकरी का मैं थोड़ा सा प्रेशर कमती कर दूं. आगे क्या था? Earlier he would have been cajoling his bosses like anything. Whatever boss said, yes, okay, I will do it. You can now say that अभी तो time over हो गया सर, मैं करके देखता हूँ. This you can say, but you cannot say this, that now you, when you don't have a second income, you cannot say boss that boss अभी तो मेरा time over हो गया, मैं चला जा रहा हूँ. This is not happening because the culture is totally changed. You cannot say no to it. And more so, the COVID added another thing, work from. My future plan is to lead a happy life and lead a quiet life and a spiritual life. Not to disturb anyone. Disturb yourself.